Hi, everybody. Before we get to another great interview, the Two Opinionated podcast could really use your help. And it's easy, it's free. IMDb, which is the entertainment database, imdb.com, named us a top 100 podcast. We came in at number 82. That's a big deal because there's 15 million podcasts and growing. So to be named to anybody's top 100 list, pretty big deal for us. And the way you can help is to go to imdb.com, look up the Two Opinionated podcast, and that's it. Just bringing our page up. That traffic really helps us out. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. All we ask is that you subscribe. It's also free, but that really helps us to attract these amazing guests that we keep bringing on the program. And that's it. Two easy ways for you to support us, and we would really appreciate the help. Now let's get to that interview. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Two Opinionated. I'm so excited today. I've got one of my favorite actors, Richard T. Jones, with me. So welcome, Richard.
Hey, thank you for having me, Michael. Thank you for having me.
You know, I've been watching you for at least 30 years.
Come on, don't go there. Don't go
I
there.
know. Hey, are you like me that, you know, the 90s, you can acknowledge that it's been 30 years since the 90s, but it feels like
Yes.
it's been like 5.
Yeah, it's been 30 plus years. I've been doing this for a living. So, yeah, I've been very blessed in that case. But, yeah, I've been doing it for a while. So when people, everyone I meet now grew up on me.
Yeah.
Like you. Yeah, they're like, oh, man, I grew up on your movies. I'm like, I'm that guy now. I'm that guy now.
You're that guy.
You know,
I mean,
when I met Sidney
remember,
Poitier, I used to say that, I met Sidney Poitier. I was like, yo, I grew up on your movies. I met Denzel, like, yo, man, I've been growing up. Now I'm that guy. Now it's me.
I remember you making an appearance on In the Heat of the Night.
Oh, my goodness.
And that was one of my dad's favorite shows. So I just happened to be in the room. I probably wasn't actually watching at the time, but I was just there. I remember it though.
Yes, that was one of my first roles. That was like when I very, very first started. And I started to get a little bit of push. You always have to go through the guest stars. You go from the bit parts to the guest stars, and you go from background to bit part.
That's right.
To guest star. You know what I'm saying? So you go like,
well, you get like a featured guest star.
Exactly. Right. That's right. I forgot that. You go from background to feature guest. Oh no, not feature guest star. Like a little bit part, feature guest star, then a guest star.
Yeah. Then maybe a recurring guest star.
Or then a recurring guest star. So that was my first guest star. Like one of my first. Yeah, that was. Man, I think because I did that. And then I had this very, very small bit part that I'm trying to think which came first. That was on NYPD Blue.
Well, I was about to say that. I was like, I don't know which one came first, but I was a big Blue fan.
Yeah, and that got I played this little. I wasn't a crackhead or nothing like that. I was just like a street person, but I was mentally off, and so I played this guy, and I have one scene. One scene, but people took notice from that one scene. I had one little scene where I played this street cat, and then people were like, "Yo, this guy might have a little something." And that's how I think I got In the Heat of the Night. So
yeah,
got to play my first bad guy. That was my first bad guy when I think about it.
Was Judging Amy? Was that? Baco was that?
No. Judging Amy was not. It was actually Amy Brenneman's company. So Amy Brenneman, she wrote it, and she kind of
I didn't know that.
She didn't write it, but she came up with the concept.
Yeah.
Her husband Brad Sibberling, he directed it. The pilot, that is, and so that was different. But I did do a Bosco show.
Yeah, Brooklyn South, right?
Brooklyn South.
I remember Brooklyn South. That's why I was thinking. I was like, boy, you must have been buddies with him.
No, it was like, no, I went back in Years later. This is years after. This is, I did Brooklyn South after I finished up a movie called Event Horizon.
Oh, I love
So
the Event Horizon. I'm a
yeah, so
sci-fi guy, so I love
okay.
that one. Yeah.
Look, it's funny. That's a whole different. We're going to get into that story.
That's
So
right.
when I got back from London from shooting that film, I was like, yo, I need some money. We need, like, and I was newly married at that time, so I said, all right. And she was about to leave me, and I said, all right, let me get a TV show. So I got a TV show, and it was Brooklyn South, and that was my first taste of television in that light. So that was my first series regular was Brooklyn South.
I love that. I love that. Well, let me back this up a little bit.
Okay.
So what I know we were talking off camera about your dad was a professional
Yes.
ball player. What got you into acting? Did you ever have a desire to play sports?
No, what's funny? I always loved movies. Always loved movies.
Yeah.
I used to, take my mom's car when I was younger and sneak off to the movies, but never really had a desire to be in the film business. I grew up in California, so we grew up in Carson, California. My dad played baseball, but then once he retired, we moved back to California, and I was raised here. I mean, not here. I'm not there anymore, but I was raised in California.
Yeah.
And but I love the movies. I love TV. I love, I was a big fan of Thursday nights with the Cosby shows and the different worlds.
Thursday night must see TV.
Must see TV. But yeah, I just, but I always thought I was going to play football. I was a football player. Then something strange happened to me my senior year in high school. I just fell out of love with football, which was so strange for me. I was just like, the taste of football just left everything about me. It was like, and I don't know why. To this day, I don't know why. It was just like,
I think that's just something that happens as you're growing up.
Is that what happened? Because it was like I was a football player my whole life. In the 12th grade year, it was like after the season, I got a couple offers like Kansas and other schools like that. And you got to know the people I played against, they were ballers. Johnny Miller, you know what I'm saying? I like my era. Half the people I would like, we went against them other day. I went to a school called Bishop Montgomery.
Oh yeah.
And, so most of the people we played against that I was compared to were my contemporaries, let's say. They all went to the league. So I was just like, and I was competing with those cats. But after my 12th grade season, I said, nah, I'm good. And it was just like, and from that point on, I was 17 years old at the time because I graduated a little early because I started school early.
Yep.
That's being born in Japan. See, in Japan, they make you go to school at 3. You start school real early.
That's early.
Oh yeah, that's why they're so smart.
I was going to say, there's probably a reason that they tend to do better than we do.
Exactly. They put you in school real early. So when I got out here, I ended up graduating like 17. So yeah, I didn't watch football from 17 to 27, like 10 years, 28.
You really burn out on it.
I was like done. I was just like done. I have no idea why. But anyway, I went to college. I went to Tuskegee University.
Very nice.
Real HBCU. No, but we're all great. But I went to Tuskegee, the first HBCU. Like I said,
that's right.
My plan was to be a lawyer, and I was a political science major at first, and I decided to switch to philosophy so I can get into the heads of my client. I wanted to be a litigator. I wanted to be.
Well, you came to acting kind of late.
Oh, really? So I was like 18. But I went to college. I was away from my home for the first time, away from my mother and away from my father, and I lost my mind.
Many of us do.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't join no frat, but you would think because I was a frat boy. I was out every night, partying every night. I had gotten an academic scholarship. Not because I had great grades, but I had good enough grades to get in there. They took a chance on me, and they decided, buddy, you're about to flunk out. I mean, I had I wasn't flunking out, but I had all D's, Michael. I had all D's.
So you're on the edge.
I was on the edge of getting. So I said, okay, the second semester, I said, okay, how can I, rearrange my classes to go around my partying? Because I wasn't going to stop partying. Right. I wasn't gonna stop
no
partying.
8 o'clock class.
Look. That's what college is for. So I'm not stopping that, but I can't be taking these hard classes. So let me look at my electives. So I said, there's this acting class. It's like a monologue class. It's like a monologue class. I said, what's the curriculum? You read a couple monologues. You have to get in front of the class, and you kind of perform these monologues, and that's basically the class. I said, hey, well, I want to be a litigator, so this will help with my openings and my closings. Let me take the class. It can't be too hard. I mean, what is it? You read, it can't be too bad. So I go in there and I talk. Some of my friends were in there, so we would talk and BS a lot. And I tell you, but every time I would have to do a monologue, which I would never study for, I would just kind of read it while I walked to class through the quad. I got a monologue today, so I'll read it, blah, blah. And for some reason, I would retain these things. And when that
may have been your first clue that
might have been my first clue. And then once I would perform it, everybody would be like, "Oh, that's pretty good." So my teacher, Mr. Johnson, he looked at me and was kind of like, "Hey, man, you got a little something. We're doing this play at the Playhouse. I would love for you to audition." And I said, "We got a Playhouse?" I was like, where is a Playhouse? He says, on the other side of the campus. I said, seriously? I said, oh, wow. I said, yeah, it's not really my thing. Thank you, but no thanks. He said, hold up, son. You talk a lot in my class. I said, mm-hmm. And he said, yeah, so you could get a D or you can get a B.
You needed that B.
And I needed a B. I said, are you blackmailing me? He said, see you tonight. That was the exact words he said, see you tonight. And I was like, and what's funny is I think he knew I needed a B. You know what I'm saying? Like, you looked at my grades. You knew that I had all these.
Have you seen him since you became an actor?
I have not. He ended up passing away. Before I got a chance to really thank him for what he did, because I ended up doing the play. The play was Raisin in the Sun. And it was the start of, after my first performance, which was funny because I hated rehearsal, man. We had to rehearse for like 2 months, 3 months. It was back when we had to rehearse back in the day for theater.
That's right.
And it was so challenging. It wasn't even challenging. It was like boring. The challenge was I was bored to death.
Yeah.
And I literally remembered everybody's line. I could tell everybody's line from front to, because I was just sitting there for some reason. But opening night, Michael, every line left my head. I couldn't remember anything. I was like, and everybody, because back in the day when we did theater, the job of all the performers who weren't on stage at that time was to get you out of character.
Oh,
okay. So we would be on the side of the stage like, all right, look. That's all we did. Our whole job was to make you crack on stage in front of the audience.
Everybody loves that when SNL does it.
And, exactly. So I'm sitting there like, what's my first line? And my cue's coming. It's like what?
Oh, it had to be a pain.
Like, tick, 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 tick. And I'm just like, what's my first line? What's my first line? And it's like, now go out. And when I tell you, honestly, I blacked out. I can't remember what I did that performance. Can't remember anything about that performance. All I know is I woke up during our curtain call into a big round of applause. And I was like, hmm? And at that moment, I had a revelation where I just really saw my whole life before me. And I said, oh my goodness, this is what I'm going to do on the stage. I was like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I said, I don't want to be a lawyer. I want to play a lawyer. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, and everything just wrapped around. And from that, I had this passion about pursuing acting that I've never had before. I was like, oh, okay. So then everything changed in my life.
You found your thing.
Found it, and I found it hard. So I was just like, okay, I don't need, I was like, look, I loved a show called Family Ties back in the day with Michael J. Fox,
big
right?
Family Ties fan.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So when I found out like Michael J. Fox, he only graduated 10th grade. He didn't graduate high school, but I was like, oh, I said, I don't need college. I just need to go do my thing.
I'm out of here.
I'm out of here. So I ended up, after the year, I ended up leaving Tuskegee. I went to Atlanta because my dad lived there. Yeah. And he was like, look, you got to be in school, man. I said, all right, well, I'll go to a school of the arts. And there was a school having auditions to get in. It was the Academy of Dramatic Arts. Yeah. So I said, okay, let me go in there and let me audition. Now, at this time, man, I was like, I had the Midas touch. Anything I did, every play I auditioned for, booked. Everything I said, all right, let me go in here with my monologue and my comedic monologue and my dramatic monologue. I go in there, rocked it. They said, hey, like literally on the spot, they were like, look, you're in. Where you want to go? You want to go? We have a branch in New York. We have a branch in LA. I said, well, I'm gonna be an actor, man. I'm going to New York. You know what I'm saying? Look at that. I said, I'm going to New York. I'm here to act, man. I'm gonna do this thing for real. They said, that's amazing. Okay, it's a 2-year waiting list. So in a couple of years, I said, hold up, what? They said 2 years. I was like, what am I supposed to do for 2 years? I said, oh, what about LA? They said, well, in LA, you can get in next semester. I said, well, I'll go back to LA. I said, I ain't waiting.
There's a randomness to your life.
I said, what am I going to do in Atlanta for 2 years waiting on the school to open up? I said, nah, buddy. I said, I'll go right now. So 6 months later, I'm in the Academy of Dramatic Arts, and I'm there for about 3 months because my misconception of what art school or school of the arts would be was totally off. I'm thinking that we're going to go on stage, we're going to start memorizing plays, we're going to discuss acting, we're going to discuss choices and really start breaking down characters. And we went in the first year and they said, there's this woman Udenhagen. She was a German, and I want you to know everything about her life. She is the creator of acting. And I said, okay. I said, so what was her technique? Oh, no, we're not doing technique. We're just doing her life right now. I want you to learn about history. Yeah. I was like, that history. I said, I don't care about Udenhagen like that. I said, give me some technique. The only class I enjoyed was voice and movement. So you would learn. And then they told me, they said, well, you can't do a play until the 3rd year. I said, I'm sorry. They said, yeah, first year, you just have to be at plays. Second years, you have to work upon plays. Like you have to do the lights and all that kind of stuff. And then 3rd year, you get a chance to audition for plays. And I was like, that's not what I heard about Meryl Streep. I heard she was, as a freshman, she got right into plays.
Right.
But she's incredible. Don't get it.
I was going to say, it is Meryl Streep.
It is Meryl Streep, right. So I was like just kind of blown away, and I was just like, look here, I'm in LA. I want to, I ended up going to a movie. I went to see this movie, House Party. I'm laughing because,
I remember House Party.
I remember House Party, right? And I'm looking at this movie, and I'm just like, yo, I could do that. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're doing? I said, I said, oh man, I can do this. So
we've already established you did a little partying in college. We know.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. And I'm just like, if that's because you gotta understand, I'm a theater actor. I don't want to do movies like that or TV. I want to do theater, and I really love the theater. To this day, I love the theater.
Yeah,
there's just no money in it.
Okay? That's
right. Let's just be honest.
I've talked to a lot of actors. They all say that.
Okay, there's no money in it, especially at that time. So I'm doing theater around LA and Hollywood, but you're doing it for free. You're just doing it to do it. And so I finally was like, look, okay, but I'm taking classes. I'm taking classes. I'm getting into, they want me to get into the Beverly Hills Playhouse, and I was like, okay. And they said, okay, and they started talking to Scientology, and I said, look, I can't be no Scientologist. I'm a Christian, and I love the Lord. So I said, hey, but I got into some other great classes. I got Robert Fine, and then I end up with a very good teacher, Bobby Chance. But I went to John Alejante. Any place I heard that had great actors in it, I was there, because I took acting and I put it in the category of a sport where we're competing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, let's just
that's what you're doing, basically.
That's what you're doing. Look, when you go on audition, what are you doing? You compete, right? Yeah. It is what it is. There's one job, and there's a bunch of y'all, and it was like, yo. So that was my mindset. It was like, yo, I'm here to win. So, and I love teachers that brought that out of me. It's like, hey, man, you're here to win. So that means you're here to do something different.
Right.
You have to bring something that's on the page that's not on the page. You know what I'm saying? So you got to bring something different.
Yeah, I love that.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, so I'm here to win.
Well, so you started late, but you dove in once you made the commitment. You were in.
I was in. I was in.
There was no lost time.
There was no question, because when you say I want to be an actor, my mom broke down in tears. And when I say tears, man, to this day, I haven't seen that woman cry.
Well, she wanted to make sure you had a backup plan.
Exactly right. So she was like, when I said, look, I'm leaving school because I want to be an actor, she broke and cried for 3 days. 3. Oh, you're never gonna leave my couch. I mean, 3 days. And I said no. And she's like, and then my dad was like, look, let acting be your backup plan, man. Go back to football, because I went to Tuskegee, and all that time, I don't know how the football coach heard about me or got my tape, but they got my tape. And they were like, and they wanted me to play. They were like, yo, man. And I was like, dude, I'm playing. I'm not going to play. I'm going to be an actor. And my dad is funny, because it's funny now. It's not funny, but it's ironic now, because he was like, look, man, you can be like O.J. Simpson, Burt Reynolds. You know what I'm saying?
That's
like,
right.
they started off in football, then they moved over to acting. And I'm sitting there like, nah, I think I'm just going to do this, Dad. They was like, well, what's your plan B? I said,
nope. I
don't have no plan B. This is I told you, I saw myself do it. I said, yeah, I'm going to do this forever. I mean, I saw my life, and I was like, I'm going to be an actor. Nah. I said, all right. Now, in retrospect, they look back at it now, and they say, hey, you did. They kind of give me a little credit, because they're like, look, you said you was going to do it, and you did it.
Yeah, you knew.
I knew.
You knew.
I knew, like I knew my name. That's how. This is what I was going to do for a living. There was going to be no compromise. And
I really love that, because that's so rare. Like I found what I love to do, but I was almost 50 years old when I did.
Look. But hey, you found it. You know how people don't find it, and that's really heartbreaking in a lot of ways, when you sit there because you can get so stuck in your plan B and C that you stop having the desire to look for it.
Yeah, I totally get that. I ran call centers most of my life, and I hated every minute of it. I loved the people,
right?
But I did not love the work. But I was like, well, I got to make a living. I got to raise a family. What else am I going to do?
Wow. But this and you get these stories a lot, and people are like, oh, and then they ask, man, what made you like break away and really, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're like, because I kind of I kind of tell people like this, that just like an alcoholic has to hit rock bottom before the revelation comes to you and say, yo, I got to change my life.
That's right.
I said, that's a lot in real life. I said, sometimes to really chase your destiny, you almost have to hit rock bottom. Like, okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
There's something, I got to change my life. Otherwise, what's the point? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's 100%.
I
got two similar stories to what we've been talking about. So I'll throw those out there real quick.
Okay.
I actually get the football thing. I was a baseball player, so I played baseball all the way through high school and loved it. That was what my entire life I was like, this is it.
Right.
Player. And last game, senior year, last at bat, I hit a home run. And I crossed home plate and I was like, well, I'm done with that. And I was just like, I think I'm done.
It's not just me. My goodness, I was like, you had that.
I think I'm done. I don't have a desire to keep playing. And I was like, what a better way to go out. I was like, I think I'm done. So I walked away. And I went and got a job. So I
right.
But yeah, I missed it some, but mostly it was the people.
That's it. That's
not
right. That's right.
The game. Still a baseball fan, just have no real desire to play it anymore, or didn't back then. And then the other one I wanted to mention was I've never had that, that epiphany, work wise, like that. But I was early 2000s. I was divorced. I was working for Ticketmaster.
Okay.
And my wife now was also Ticketmaster, and we didn't work together, but we were in the same building. Didn't really care for each other. But we didn't work together. No big deal.
Right.
But over time, we both got divorced, and we were miserable. I've been divorced for a couple of years. She's a little bit less than that. We were both miserable, and our boss got tired of it, and so he was kind of pushing both of us. Maybe we want to go out with that Emily girl. She's a nice girl. And same thing to her with me, because he was just tired of us moping around. And she came in my office one day for whatever reason, and I got my courage up, and I didn't really ask her out, but kind of hinted that maybe we should go out. Right.
It
was terrible.
The half ask.
The half ask. Right. And so, but she turned around to leave. After our conversation, she walks out of my office. And in my head,
what did she say? What did she say?
Well, she this is how bad it was. Listen, I took a business card and just wrote my phone number on the back of it, and I was like, "You should call me sometime. Maybe we can do something." And she was kind of like, "Okay, right,
okay,
yeah." So she turns around, and walks out of the office, but in my head, I'm like, "I'm gonna marry that girl."
Wow! Look at that.
Just plain as day, like I'm gonna marry that girl. Well. It took some convincing I was in. We hadn't even been out yet. I was like, I'm in. But eventually
that's amazing.
She came around, and I was like, that's the only time in my life I've really had that moment. I was like, yeah. And it's been 20 years ago. We're still together. So
look at that. After my first divorce, I had the same thing with my wife. We're working together, and I'm looking at her. When we first met, she looks at me, I look at her, and I sit there and say, I know you. Why do I know you? And she's looking at me like, I know you. But I knew I didn't know her, and she knew she didn't know me.
That's right.
Why do I know you? You know what I'm saying? It's like, and it was like a sincere. It's not like a pickup one. And I was like, so she's a makeup artist, and I'm an actor. So I'm sitting there in the makeup chair, and I'm just kind of staring at her because I'm weirded out by the fact that it's like, why do I feel like I know this woman?
But you're supposed to know this woman.
Exactly. And then one day, it just like you said, I was sitting there like, oh, and I wasn't married, but I was like this. I was like, oh, and I looked at her. I said, oh, we're gonna know each other for the rest of our lives. Now I see. And she was like, yeah, she was like, huh? And it took a lot of convincing.
Well, let me tell you what I did.
What'd you do?
She was not in. We were kind of going out, and it was going fine, but she wasn't in. but she had to go out of the country, and she had a dog. And at that time, you know, I was a divorced guy. I was living back with my parents in the basement, desperate to get out of there. And she's like, could you come house sit, keep an eye on my dog? And I was like, yeah, I can do that. Well, I got over there, and she was gone for a week. And I'm I cannot go back to that basement. So she came home, and I was like, hey, we got cable. And she's like, we.
Yeah, I would have said that too. We.
and I was like, oh, I have made a horrible mistake. But some reason she stuck around, and there you go. I held on for dear life.
Hold up, did you go home? That's what I looked. Did you have to go back to
she let me stay.
Get out of here.
And the kind of funny part now, but a couple days later, my parents show up just dropping off all my stuff. And they're telling her, yeah, he's your problem now. She had chances and maybe some warnings that she should have ran, but she didn't run.
Hold up. So she came home from a vacation.
Yeah.
And you said, we got cable.
She had a broken love seat. It was missing a leg. And like one of those 1980s console TVs, no cable. So while she was gone, I bought a couch, I got a new TV and cable. And in my head, I don't know what I was thinking. Who does that? It wasn't my house.
That was the words that were about to come out of my mouth. What were you thinking?
I was desperate. But hey, that was 20 years ago.
Exactly. Hey, it worked. Guess what? Guess where she lives now? With you.
That's right. That's right. Everybody thought I was crazy. I was like, well, I was, but it worked. In my head, I kept saying, fortune favors the bold.
Hey, that's right. That's right.
Hey, I looked up your dad, 246 home runs.
Yes. Yeah. In Japan?
In Japan. And, you know, Japan, anything double digits is a lot of home runs there.
That's right.
Yeah, 246 is a ton.
You got to remember when he did it. So he did it like in the 70s, and he didn't play in Japan long. He played like maybe, I forgot how many years, but yeah, he wasn't there that long, and he did a lot of work in that time. And like I said, he's like a really famous. It's
what was his position?
He played first base.
Oh, right. Well, he really was wasn't that the position from? Yeah. 3,000 or whatever.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. He was, and you know, he's a lefty. You know what I'm saying? So he's a lefty. So you know, he's a first. And I remember I did a movie called Godzilla.
Oh yeah.
With Ken
I may have heard of that.
Oh, the first one, Ken Watanabe. And I remember, you know, he was kind. You know, he's a quiet guy. He speaks Japanese mostly. He does speak English, but you know, he's working on his English better. And we're talking one day, and I said, hey, you know, because my dad loved them from like Last Samurai or something like that. So I said, look, I just wanted to tell you my dad loved you from Last Samurai. And we didn't talk that much on set. And he was like, he said, oh, yeah. And I said, yeah, you know, I was born in Japan. He said, get out of here. I said, yeah, you know, my dad was over there. He said, really? I said, yeah, he played baseball. He said, get out of here. He said, what's your dad's name? I said, his name's Clarence Jones. He said, Clarence Jones? Your father's? I was like, yeah. He flipped out because he was like, "Oh my goodness, yeah." I was like, "You know him? Do I know of him? Oh my goodness! He's up that this." And from that point on, we became real close. So he's like, "Come to my trailer."
That's awesome.
I was like, So my dad was very surprised he knew him too, like that. And then he sent him because at that time, because my dad also coached with Atlanta Braves. That's why I went to Atlanta, because he was still coaching.
He's coaching, yeah.
So yeah, my dad he has a very blessed life. You know, he has a World Series rings. I don't know how many titles they won, because it was the good old days of the Braves when they had Glavine and Smoke.
Oh yeah, they had Maddox, Avery,
everybody. So, you know, I remember meeting Glavine when he was in the minors, and He
Wow.
wasn't that good. I was sitting there like, oh, you're never going to make it. It's funny because you go to the minors, and all the cats you think are going to make it didn't make it.
That's right.
And, and all the cats that were kind of average, you think like, oh, they're average or whatever. Right off the bat.
Yeah, because they figured it out.
They figured it out. Only person that came out the gate knowing they were going was David Justice. He came in.
Oh man.
He
so
came
talented.
in and my dad was like, oh, he's going to be a star. He knew like right away.
Yeah. Well, Andrew Jones was on those teams.
Andrew Jones was on there. Yeah, exactly. So it was like, oh, okay. So yeah, there was the glory days of the Atlanta Braves. So it was very good to be in Atlanta at those times. It was before Atlanta became too. Now to me, it's like they cut down all the trees, man. The trees, they're like used to be green, and I was like, what you guys do anyway?
Now it's just a city.
It's a whole different. Yeah, exactly.
I went to. I was at a Yankees game Saturday.
Oh, get out of
New York. Yeah, it's the first time I've been to Yankee Stadium. They had the Clark Schmidt hitter through 7 innings. They took him out.
That's right. But what jersey did you? I hope you had it yet. I hope you. I went nothing or Yankees. What?
Well, I did nothing. I went nothing, but we went. My wife and I. We went with my brother and his wife. They both had Yankees jersey.
Okay, there you go. All right. So
I'm a Reds fan. And I was going to wear my Reds jersey. You
went in there for the Reds. It could be a whole different experience.
I know. I was going to wear I had my Joe Morgan jersey. That was my favorite player growing up, but I didn't wear it.
Did they warn you, or you just decided not to?
I've watched enough baseball to know you don't wear that to Yankee Stadium. And we were behind home plate, so I was like, I'm not doing that. Not doing that.
Because my dad, trust me, we played the Yankees a lot, and my dad was like, "Yeah, man, don't wear anything." And we were in the section. We were in the Braves section, and he was like, "Nah, don't wear anything." I know,
not there.
Not there. He's like, there's certain places. I remember it was there, and then I don't know if you ever went to an Oakland Raider game when they were in Oakland. Oh my goodness, you could not.
You do not. I was a Raiders fan. I always liked Jim Plunkett for some reason.
He was good.
He was good. I always had that in. I know it didn't actually happen that way, but in my head as a kid, it was like they were having a Raiders game. Jim Plunkett's up in the stands, basically retired, and they just motioned to the stands, to bring him down, and he goes in the game. And that's in my head. I'm like, that's where Jim Plunkett came from. I don't know where I got that, but yeah, Jim Plunkett, and then Tecmo Bowl with Bo Jackson.
Oh my god, with Bo Jackson, yeah. I mean, Oakland, my goodness, they were like a dynasty. They were a dynasty. Then they would like fall a little bit. I mean, it started with Marcus Allen and all them, but even before then. They've just always been there. They've always been like good. It's like this is the longest they haven't been good.
I know. It's been rough.
Yeah, it's been rough. It's been rough.
It's looking up though. Good. Tom's involved now, maybe. Brady's involved. Maybe that helps.
Yeah, maybe. No, but Crosby's a beast. I mean, that dude's a beast.
He is.
I mean he's So I think he's one of those. He's going to make I think he'll win one for you guys before it's all said and done.
That would be nice. That would be good.
Although at least he'll get you there. I don't know if you'll win it, but
35 years I've been waiting on the Reds to get back in.
Oh my God. Yeah, the Reds too, man.
When I was growing up, Big Red Machine. And then once I became an adult, though, nothing.
You grew up in West Virginia, right?
Yeah.
You grew up there? Okay, so it was like, is that the closest? No, that wasn't the closest. You should have been a Pirates fan.
It's Pittsburgh's probably a little bit closer, but it's Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Cleveland. They're all
pretty close. Yes, that's right. All right.
We used to have the Charleston Charlies was Pittsburgh's AAA team.
Okay, got you. Okay.
So I did get to see like Dave Parker and some of them come through. So that was kind of cool, but
you never went to the Pirates, huh? You
never went to the Pirates. I was the first game I remember watching, Game 6, 75 World Series, and I was a Reds fan.
Oh wow, okay.
From there on, and it's now I'm a long suffering Reds fan. Back then, I was a Reds fan.
Hey, I'm a Rams fan, so it took a long time.
Oh yeah,
I suffered for a long, long time.
It's hard not to be a Rams fan when Kurt Warner and those guys.
Oh yeah, they were great. I was a Rams fan before with Ferragamo and stuff. So I was like the last of the Mohicans. So when everybody jumped over to the Raiders, I was still a Rams fan. I didn't like the Raiders. I was like, nah, I ain't going to the Raiders. But
Raiders couldn't figure out where they wanted to play. They just bounced.
No, they used LA like a little mistress. They said, we're gonna marry you. We're gonna come down to marry you. And just to get the wife jealous. And once the wife said, we want you back, they ditched LA and went back to Oakland.
That's right.
Yeah.
I reading through your credits, you've played quite a few officers in your day.
You think? It's one of those things where now I'm just saying, okay, I must be like I've known I was going to be an actor. It's like, I know I'm supposed to play some type of law enforcement.
I was like, I'm just looking through. I was like, yeah, that's a lot.
That is a lot, man. I've played a lot of law enforcement. Yes, I have.
I saw. I'd forgotten you were in Girlfriends back in the day.
Yes, I was. Yeah.
I saw Tracy. I went to see Chris Rock in LA for that joke festival they had last year. Netflix is a joke, and I thought I was going to see his comedy act, but he was doing a table read for When Harry Met Sally.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I guess maybe he's trying to remake it. He was testing it out. But Tracy played
Play Sally?
She played Sally, yeah.
Wow.
He had a group with him. Tim Meadows was in it, and it had a whole bunch of people that were.
Look, I would love that remake now with Chris. And I know who he is. So like I don't know him well, but we've met a couple times. What's funny is we met in Cincinnati.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, that was funny. The funny thing is we met in Cincinnati. But yeah, because I went to his concert and he was doing a concert. I was out there doing a movie.
Yeah,
he had a concert out there, and then I went to see it, and we met afterwards at a restaurant.
Well, that's what I thought I was doing, but I'm not complaining because it was pretty awesome.
Okay, yeah. So that's but I love. That's one of my favorite movies.
Me too.
I mean, so
well, he did a good job with it.
Did he do a good job?
From a table read, but
I get kind of testy when people do my favorites and they try to remake them, and I'm just like, yeah,
I know.
Don't do that. It's like
it rarely works out.
It rarely works out. So that's my only qualm. But if you said it was good,
it was good.
Read-throughs can be a lot better than movies.
Yeah, it was good. So you mentioned Event Horizon.
Yes.
I still think that's an underrated movie. I know it did well.
Yeah.
But it's like one of my favorite sci-fi movies.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I believe it's underrated also. I think it's what's funny about that movie is they asked me for an audition and they said, we want you to come in the audition. I said, okay, cool. I read it and I'm like, don't get it.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't a sci-fi guy. Yeah. So I was reading it and I was just like, I don't even get this thing. So I go into the audition and they said, so what do you think about the script? And I said, look, guys, I gotta admit, I didn't get it. All right, I didn't get it. I'm not really sci-fi dude, so I don't know if I'm right for this role. They said, man, because we really like you for this role, man. Yeah. I said, we would love for you to come play with us in London for a minute. I said, I'm sorry, did you say go to London? Michael, I swear it was. I said, did you say go to London? They said, yeah, that's where we're filming. I said, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in. I said, it's about location for me. I was like, when we go into London, boy, I'm in. And I tell you, like I said, I didn't get it. We did 2 table reads, still didn't get it. We're a month in filming. And I get that it's a sci-fi because, I got that
right.
part. So every Friday night, they would take us out to the Soho House in London. because the director would take us out there. We would just all have dinner together and just, fellowship and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And when we got there, probably the third week, he put together like a little trailer, of all the stuff we shot so far. And he's like, I just want to let you guys see what's going on and how good it looks. And you guys are going to be really happy with this film. We're like, oh, okay, cool. So we're watching it. And I'm just like, and when it's over, I stand up and say, hold on, we're shooting a horror movie? We're shooting a scary movie? I had no idea. Then it clicked, and I said, now it clicks. I said, at first,
that's hilarious.
We're just doing the side. I said, oh, we're shooting a scary movie. I said, no wonder I'm doing all this stuff. Now I get it.
Pretty funny.
It's so funny, but I had a blast doing it. It's kind of one of those things where you get into this business, you never really know how it's going to go. You never really know how. But when it comes all down to it, just like what you said about baseball, it's always about the people that you work with. You know what I'm saying? It's just about working with good people, making relationships. Some are going to last, some are not. You know what I'm saying? But to get with a good group, and there's going to be some bad groups too. Don't get you know what I'm saying? There's going to be some bad groups too. But I think it's what it's all about. It's about relationships. I'm happy to be on The Rookie because The Rookie.
Well, I was going to say The Rookie has got a great cast that seems to get along really well.
I love them people. I love Judging Name. I love my people on Judging Name. Don't get it twisted. I really did. But this group right here is a special group. We really, really we're really fond of each other. We just really just love everything about every person on the show. Crew, the writing staff, the costume, everybody. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it has nothing,
that has to be the most stressed out precinct. You guys get into more, horrible situations, that affect like the whole city, and just awful stuff. I'd be stressed all the time if that was real.
Right? So I always sit there and say, can we do an episode where nothing happens? Like we just, like it's literally like pretty much a regular cop
just
day.
A normal day.
Just a normal day. And they're like, who wants to watch that? I said, I think you'd be surprised. I think people would be like, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Like nothing happened.
I do kind of like where it's went to a lot of times the opening is has some humor in it. I enjoy that.
We like the funny opens. I think Alexi does a good job of keeping it light because I always tell people, Danny DeVito, I was young and I was doing the movie with him and he said, hey, I said, you got any advice for a young actor? And he said, yeah, kid, what I can tell you is when you read a drama, look for the comedy. And when you read a comedy, look for the drama. You see, the comedy and the drama makes the character more down to earth. It makes it more, you know what I'm saying? People can accept that character. It makes it more realistic. Yeah. He said, but in a comedy, the more dramatic you look for the drama in it because that's really what's funny. He said you play the drama so much that it becomes a laugh. He said because people laugh at what's true. So you want to find that drama and play it to the fullest. He said because that's where the comedy comes from. And I said, yeah, I was like, this is when I was 22 years old, and I was like, thank you. And so when you read scripts that understand, when you read writers that understand that, because you have writers that are brilliant writers, but it's always dramatic.
Yeah. And
you have to find a place like, okay, I gotta bring this person, give some levity to this person. He can't always be serious.
Well, nobody's like that.
Exactly. Nobody's like that. So you have to find those things. And he's like, oh, okay. So, but when you have a writer like Alexi, he tends to understand that. So he's like, oh, you know something? Let's have some fun. Then we can get some drama. Then in the middle of the drama, we'll do something funny or something odd.
That's right.
and it will make these characters believable. And ultimately, the fan base, I believe, they gravitate to the characters because of it.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. And I'm sure a lot of people were like me. I came and checked out the show because of Nathan. I was a fan of his, and I was like, I'm checking it out. But it's actually an ensemble, and I love that. I mean, he has his part, and he's great in it. But the whole cast is just amazing, and the show wouldn't work if it was just him.
Yeah, and what's funny is that was his requirement. He was like, "Look, I'm not trying to be Castle." He's like, "I don't want it to." He's like, so even though he technically is the rookie, he's like, "This is an ensemble show," and ultimately, he wanted a show where the brunt of the weight wasn't on him all the time. And so he was just like, "Look, I want to be able to let you guys have your lives, and you watch, and we can just let the fan base just follow you guys." And so he's very encouraging about the situation, and he promotes it. He promotes, everybody having a good solid character on the show, which is great.
I mean, it just seems like a good show to work on. Even like I've had a lot of people that have guest starred on the show, and they love it.
We have a blast, man. I tell you, if we didn't laugh as much as we do and have such a good time with each other, you would probably think the show was a little more serious than it is, because we're because we're having so much fun, having such a good time with each other. They actually broke us up for a minute, because when they get us all together in one place, like, if you notice, we don't do as many roll calls as we used to do.
That's right.
Okay, because we would all be in there, and we would have a blast. And we would always run over time because we were having so much fun.
I guess that's true. I really paid attention, but you're right. Over time, you don't do as many. You're right.
We don't do it because they were like, okay, how can we not put you all together at the same time? But we actually go out, like, outside of work. Everybody's had their babies on the show. All the ladies have had babies on the show. We've been there. We've been to the birthday parties, and we've seen the kids grow, and we've seen.
Yeah, that's something that even after the show's done, you'll probably be friends with those people.
Oh yeah, this is a group that will always know each other, and I'm so happy to be a part of that. Yeah, so I love the show. 8 seasons, and we'll just keep on rolling.
Well, I loved Feds too, and I know it didn't quite catch on like the Rick did, but you're still bringing those people on the show once in a while.
Because we loved it. They were cool too. It was like one of those, because they would be right next door, and we would always mingle. They would come over. We would go on their show. They would come on our show. We love Felix. Felix, boy, I tell you, he's a beast. Felix is a beast. He's coming on this year, so we're excited for him. He'll be in
you've had some cast turnover through the years.
Yes, we have.
Sometimes that can mess up a show, but it hasn't. You just keep bringing great people on.
Yeah, we've been fortunate. I mean, you're absolutely right. It doesn't really happen that way, that you bring a new person on. But I tell you, there's something special about this particular thing, because I tell you, it's like you lose one, and then somebody else comes on, and it's like, they're great.
Yeah, I don't know who's doing your casting, but they're doing a good job.
They're doing a great job. And it tends to. What's funny is a lot of it comes through association, where people know each other, and people are like, "Oh, what about this person? What about that person?" And he's all ears, man. He's not. He won't, shy away because you might know an actor that's looking for a job and they're perfect for the role. And when they come on, like Makia is somebody Eric knows very well. They did another show.
Oh, together. Really?
Oh, yeah. They did like another show together. And he was like, "Yo." And when she called him, she's like, "Hey, they want me." She was like, "You got to go on the show, Makia. You got to go on the." And he called Alexi. So he just said, "Okay, let me look at her tape again." And he looked at her tape. He's like, "Oh, this girl's great." And
she is pretty great.
Oh, she's amazing.
Yeah, she was supposed to come on the show at one time, and I think that maybe she was pregnant.
Oh, not maybe.
Yeah.
She probably
the timing didn't work out. The timing didn't work out.
She was pregnant. Yeah, so no, she's amazing. And the sweetie pie, man. It's just like nothing like her character. That was funny. When I met her, I looked at her and I was like, I said, man, you got her wrong, man. This girl's never gonna pull this off. I literally was like, this girl's never gonna pull this off. She's too sweet because she's like a little girl. You're like,
you mean she's not the come out of the tub, type of.
Please, you know what I'm saying? And as soon as she got in character, I was like, oh
yeah.
I said, my bad, I was wrong about her. I was like, oh. And I told her too. I said, I was wrong about you. I didn't think you was gonna get it. I thought you was just too sweet. And she just laughs, and I tell you, Jenna's amazing, and she's a sweetie pie. And I tell you, it's just
she was a good addition.
Oh yeah, we just been really fortunate, really blessed in that area. So I'm happy that it keeps working.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So I know we got to wrap up, but I want to throw a few more at you. We'll do a little rapid fire.
Okay. Let's go.
So Sarah Connor, Chronicles.
Yes.
Big fan, big fan of Terminator. But the reason I brought it up, and you were terrific on it.
Oh, thanks.
I was we were around the pool last night. So my brother said that. He's like, wasn't he on Sarah Connor Chronicles? And I was like, yeah. And so my wife says, I'm reading the series of books that's based on. She's like, it's really funny. And I was like, I don't know that you are. That's about Terminators, right? Yeah. And she's, she, but it didn't really register. She came this morning and she's like, yeah, that's not what I was reading.
I love it.
But yeah, that was such a good show, and loved Summer on there.
She's great, very sweet. Now you talking about shy girl? I mean, she's shy.
She's so shy. I've met her at a few conventions.
Okay,
she's so shy.
I tell you, I didn't know what. It's funny because her and Nathan worked together on Firefly and that kind of thing. Now I didn't know Nathan before her. I knew her first,
right?
And so we're doing the Terminator first year, and they say, "Oh, you guys have been invited to Comic-Con in San Diego, and blah blah. We want to come." I said, "Okay, can fine. Never been there." So I just happened to be partnered with Summer. Okay, so I was like, "Oh, okay." I said, "You been to one of these before?" She's shy, so she's like this. I've been to a couple. I said, "Oh, okay." We get out the car. You would think I got out with a Beetle. Okay, I was like,
I've seen how people are at conventions with her.
I was like, who the hell are you? I was like, when I say they mobbed her, I was like, yo. And then I looked up and I saw she had like shelves of dolls of her. I was like, okay, who are you? I was like, who are you?
Well, that's the sci-fi fans. They're fans.
No, they're big fans. They're big fans. So, but yeah, Summer was great, man. Really had a good time on that show. Lena was, and this was before Game of Thrones that really blew her up. But my goodness, she's a beast too, man. She's one them Brits, man. Them Brits.
I think at that time maybe she had done 300, but she hadn't.
She had done 300. That's what. Yeah. So she was kind of known for 300, but Game of Thrones put her on a whole different.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I read those books when they first came out, early 90s.
Okay.
For years I told people, you got to read these books. They're amazing.
Is that right?
And everybody's like, ah. And then the show comes out, and I had so many people come to me and be like, have you seen this show? I was like, are you kidding me? Told you 20 years ago you should be checking that out. Well, the other one I wanted to mention was Revolution.
Oh my goodness, yes. That's how I found Austin, where I live now. That's how it was the first time I had been here.
Oh, really? Yeah, I forgot that it took place around there. That I love that show. And my question is that the reason you worked on Super 8? was because of the Abrams connection.
No, I actually I got Super 8 before that actually.
Okay.
I did Revolution.
Yeah, I was thinking it was the reverse, Super 8.
Oh no. I did no, I met JJ for Super 8 first.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then I think I did my part, and I think I was still shooting Super 8. Then I did it. I was like, and then I went back because
they
Super
were
8
close there, yeah.
And you know, I did Super 8 in West Virginia. That's why I asked you about West Virginia. So we did.
Were you up around Morgantown? Is that?
Yeah, we were. I want to say Weber, not Weber, but Weaver.
There's a Weber County.
There's a Weber, or maybe it was Weber. Yes.
Yeah. That's amazing. I guess I'd forgotten that they film. A lot of places film in Pittsburgh, but we don't get a ton in West Virginia. So it was a big deal. And
it was a very big deal. So yeah, we went to West Virginia, shot that, and then I came to Austin and we shot. I remember shooting that show, and I was just like, oh, man, this is because it was summertime and it was hot.
Yeah, it's hot here.
It was not you guys. I'm talking about when I came to Austin.
Oh yeah, same. It maybe not as humid, but it's hot.
Exactly. And that show, you have to be dirty all the time. Like, I don't understand how people can do like The Walking Dead and all that. When you gotta have dirt on you all day, you have to apply dirt. It's just like it's all day in the heat. Just imagine, and then it's like, okay, reapply more dirt, and you're just like, so by the end of the night, and you're going home, you're just like, I need to get in the shower.
I was gonna say, how good does the shower feel at the end of the night?
Oh my goodness. But it's like all day, every day, you were dirty.
Yeah, I don't think I'd like that. I mean, maybe one day if I had to do it.
Right. It's cool for a minute, but then you're like, 13 hours, and you know what I'm saying? It's just like, okay, I'm just dirty.
Well, I've had a lot of actors from Walking Dead on, and some of the background actors, and they're in makeup and costume the whole show, and most of them don't even have any lines. I was like,
they're
that
dead.
has to be miserable, but they're
zombies.
They're like, I like some of them. I'll ask. I was like, well, don't you want to do some regular acting? They're like, no, this is what I like to do. I'm like, all right, it looks miserable, but okay.
Yeah, but hey,
I mean, if that's what you want to do in your spare time, is dress up like a zombie, okay. I guess that's all right.
That's a good way to put it.
All right. Well, Richard, thank you so much for taking a little bit of time. I've been looking forward to this for forever.
I'm sorry it took so long for us to really lock down the dates. I know.
You hung in there with me.
I did. I was like, because I wanted you to know it was going to happen. We just had to find the time.
Well, I kept telling my wife that. I was like, no, it'll work out. It's
going to happen. Yes. And so when you were like, I can do it, I said, something, we're going to do it tonight. When you were like, I can do it tomorrow, I said, no, we doing it.
Knock it out.
We going to I'm sorry about the hold up with the internet, but
that stuff happens.
We got it. Okay.
That stuff happens all the time. It's so frustrating when the technology doesn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't have any of this stuff growing up, and now we can't do without it.
It's like a phone, a cell phone. It's like, you gotta be kidding me. It feels like your whole life is on this phone. You want to disconnect so much. I always sit there and say, I'm just gonna put the phone down, and you miss it, and then when you pick it back up, you done miss 8 calls.
It takes you an hour to catch up on what you missed.
Exactly. You put it down, takes you an hour, 2 hours just to catch up for 30 minutes of putting the phone down.
My wife and I always do that. When we first go to bed, we like to watch, I don't know, Seth Meyers or Colbert or something, just to, kind of end the night. But before that, 10 minutes is just us sitting in bed on our phones catching up on whatever we missed. We just kind of agree, okay, 10 minutes, we're going to catch up, and then we'll watch it.
Then it's us. Then it's us.
But we just kind of fit that into our life, that little, on pause, we're sitting beside each other. But
yeah. And then The hardest thing is to wake up to your phone and try not to look on your phone. It's like, dude, I cannot do the phone right when I wake up. I try
No,
not
because that's what you do. You reach
but
for
that's
that stupid
you
phone.
reach for your phone. It's almost like an automatic reaction.
Yeah. You just pick it up and then you're in.
Yeah.
I know, if you can just put it away.
Put it away, man.
Those days where you accidentally forget your phone, they end up being the best days.
Oh, those are great days. It doesn't really happen, but yes, no. It doesn't happen enough. But yes, those are the best days.
Did I ask you, do you speak Japanese?
You did not, but I do not.
Yeah, I didn't know, because I know you were in school there pretty young.
It's funny because first 4 years was in Japan, back and forth. I actually had to learn English because I had a Japanese nanny and I was around Japanese kids all the time. So I didn't speak English very well.
Yeah.
Because I was always talking Japanese, or at least hearing Japanese.
Right.
And so when I got back to the States, I was that kid in the back of the class that couldn't speak English. So I would cry.
You're in the B group.
Exactly. My mom has a funny story. She's like, yeah, she dropped me off, and then I would just be crying because I couldn't understand anybody. And the kids would laugh at me, and I'd be like, I don't know what you're saying. And so yeah, I had to, but now I've lost.
Well, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah. What's funny is my brother, who is a basketball coach in Texas, when he was right out of college, he played overseas. He was playing basketball overseas, and he happened to get an overseas job in Japan.
Oh, it's awesome.
So my brother goes back there, and he's playing for a team. He's in the bar one night playing pool, and he's kind of beating this guy in pool, and the guy starts talking Japanese, talking about my brother. And my brother just like, he's sitting there, he's listening. Total recall. Boom. Yeah, I know what you just said.
That's right.
And then he said, and spoke, and Japanese came out. Now he's fluent.
Oh,
again.
man.
Yeah, total recall. It just popped back, and he was like, boom. And now he's just, so now he can have full conversations in Japanese.
Yeah, I always thought it would be handy to know another language, but
he can't read it or nothing like that, but he can understand you.
That's all you need. Yeah.
Right.
My wife's dad was Mexican.
Okay.
So she, but he never taught her Spanish growing up. Because he was learning English, so that's all he spoke.
That's right.
She spent most of her adult life trying to learn Spanish. Which now she can speak it and stuff, but it took years. And I was always like, it'd been a lot easier if he had just spoke Spanish to you.
That's all you had to do is speak in the house, right? It's funny because I have a friend. He's Puerto Rican. Parents speak Spanish. Grandparents speak Spanish. Everybody in the house spoke Spanish, but him. He's the only one that knows no Spanish. I was like, how is that possible? He's like, man, I just spoke English. I was like, how does everybody in your house speak Spanish? And when they're together, they speak Spanish.
Kind of osmosis get in there.
Exactly. So, and he's an actor, very successful actor, but he's like, so he had to learn Spanish because they want him to do Spanish stuff. He had to learn.
Well, maybe at least he picked it up quick.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. Okay. I wouldn't say that quick. It took a while for him to learn it.
Well, Richard, before I let you go, anything else that you're working on that we can kind of keep an eye out for, other than the new rookie season?
Okay, the new rookie season. I am now, me and my wife, Christy, have started a production company. It's called Vision Board Entertainment.
Oh, congrats.
Thank you so much. We're working on a few projects now. Our home base is here in Texas, and so we're doing some low budget independent films. We're putting those together. So I will start my directorial debut. I want to be like one of those Ben Afflecks or something like that going into.
They haven't asked you to direct on The Rookie yet?
No, it's one of those things where they need to, because I'm about to go and say, Alexa, I need to do a show. So I'm gonna have that conversation. I'm glad you said that. You need to.
Well, that's usually what happens, right? Is you're on a show and then they let you direct an episode, so kind of a soft landing to get introduced.
Makes sense. So that's probably on my hit list when I get back to LA. I'm gonna sit down with Alexi and say, hey, give me a show, give me an episode.
This podcast guy, he suggested that maybe I should direct, and I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
I would say no. Michael said he's gonna put a campaign and turn off the rookie until I direct.
That's right. No more rookie for anybody.
Exactly. I said he got his fan base is all gonna turn off the TV until I direct.
That's right.
So I'm gonna tell him. I'll tell him that.
No pressure. My dad was a high school basketball coach.
Get out of there. Okay.
Yeah. He was the he's only 5'8". His junior and senior season, he was 27 points a game and led the team in rebounds. 5'8" back. The tallest guy on the team is probably 6'.
But what I'm saying, did he got hops?
He could jump. He could jump, and he played college ball and stuff. But then went into coaching. And he did that, when I was growing up, and then moved into school administration. They won't let you coach, at least around that time. So he was a principal for my high school years and stuff. But I always told him, I was like, because he never pushed me or my brother into sports. And I was like, you maybe should have pushed me a little toward basketball.
That's what I was like. I was like, so you never played basketball?
I never did. And here's the bad part.
Okay.
I can really shoot. I just didn't know it. I started playing pickup games in high school.
Right.
And I could light it up. And I'm like, boy, I missed out. I never, because I was into baseball. I told Dad, I was like, you maybe should have pushed me a little bit. My brother, he played.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Because basketball, man, is a great sport. So
the draft is tonight.
Baseball's great. Every day. I always tell my kids, I said, look here. If you can pick up a baseball, it's very, very important. You should pick up a baseball and play baseball. But understand this, it's not sexy until you get to the minors.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? It's not a sexy sport. I said it's very rare that they're going to come see you, but it's going to be a bunch of parents.
That's right.
I said, especially in high school and junior high school.
Yeah, that's it. Well, baseball, if you're not a baseball fan, very boring.
Exactly.
If you're a fan, it's great. But if you're not a fan, it's rough.
Yeah. But it's always better playing it than actually watching it. You know what I'm saying? So I always say, it's better playing. I said, but the sexiest thing in high school is football. I don't care where you're at.
It is. That's right.
Everybody's coming to a football game. I said, so if you're a football player, hey, basketball is second.
Basketball second, and maybe soccer now ahead of baseball. I'm not even sure.
And lacrosse. Maybe lacrosse.
I know they didn't have we got soccer when I was a senior. That was the first time they'd had in our school. They didn't get lacrosse till like 20 years after that.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah.
I got to tell you real quick, and then we'll wrap up. I got to tell you my football story.
Okay, all right. Talk to me.
I was I was a baseball player. I ran track. I was fast.
Okay.
And the football team won state championship when I was in 8th grade.
Okay.
So I'm entering the 9th grade. I've never played football. And I had in my head, I was like, the one thing that team's missing is me playing wide receiver. They state championship team. They're missing me.
Now hold on. You're not Randy Moss years or nothing like that, right?
No. I was before Moss.
Oh, okay.
I was a decade ahead of him.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I go and I worked out with him all summer. It went great. I was having a good time. First day of practice.
Okay.
We start running 40-yard sprints.
Okay.
Well, nobody told me that you weren't supposed to run them. They're just jogging the sprints. I am flying. I'm running. And I'm like, I'm I'm the fastest guy out here. There's no way I don't make the team. I'm like, I'm blowing these guys away. Well, they just kept running 10, 20, 30. And,
right.
And eventually I just passed out.
Wow.
I just passed out. And I've been complaining to the coaches that, hey, my helmet's a little tight. It's kind of hurting my head. Nah, you're fine. So then I passed out. And I wake up and I got these coaches kind of standing around me, looking down at me, and they're like, I think his helmet's too tight. Needless to say, that was my last day on the football field. I was like, if they just told me to run half speed.
But none of the players told you, yo, man.
No, they enjoyed the hell out of it. Like, look at this here, but they've been playing, most of their lives.
Right. And they weren't saying, yo, Michael, you could.
All I remember is, like, I remember Dad driving me home, and I was just leaning out the car window, just dead.
Oh, that's funny.
Are you on social media? Where can we find you on that?
I am. You can find me at on Instagram. I'm at Richard T. Jones.
Yep.
And on TikTok, what is my name?
Were you dancing on there?
Am I dancing?
Yeah.
No, I'm not. Am I dancing? Am I dancing on there now? Yeah. It always uploads something new. But yeah. So yeah, at Richard T. Jones, and then on TikTok too. I think I'm Richard T. Jones. I don't know what the Richard T. Jones or something like that.
It comes right up. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah. So, it comes right up. Well, Richard, open invitation. Anytime you want to come back, please do.
It would be a pleasure, Michael. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the time.
I'm so happy we got to do this.
Me too, man. I'm so happy it worked out, and I'm happy you were patient with me because I was.
I appreciate it.
I hope you don't think I'm dodging them. Because because it takes me a minute to get back sometimes, but
no, I understand. It's life's busy. The great thing about podcasting, though, you can do it anywhere.
Amen. I like that.
Yeah. All right, hold on one second. I'm such a fan of Richard's. He was fantastic, and he was nice about it. We had a few missteps trying to schedule, and I totally get that. It's everybody's so busy. I really appreciated him making some time for me, and no issues with having to move it around a little bit. I'm happy to do that. That was awesome. Love talking about his dad. He was we were kind of joking off camera. He's kind of like the Otani in reverse. He was really famous in the that time period when Richard was growing up. Just amazing. So much that we didn't get to, and that's probably me. That's poor podcasting on my part. But he's done so much. I wanted to at least throw out some of them that I loved him in, but I didn't get to bring it up with him. I did mean to mention that he played Ike Turner Jr. in What's Love Got to Do with It. Angela Bassett, I think, was playing maybe Tina Turner in that role, maybe. But yeah, meant to mention that one. I thought that was great. He was in Chips, not the 70s TV show, but the movie. He did Santa Clarita Diet. I loved him in that. He played Rick. He's terrific. Wisdom of the Crowd. He was Detective Tommy Cavanaugh. Enjoyed that one. I think it was Jeremy Piven maybe was in that one. He was Frank on Teachers. It's been in Criminal Minds. He was Officer Lionel Wilkins. Officer Wilkins. Yeah. Criminal Minds. Lucifer, he played Joe Hansen, enjoyed that. American Horror Story, he was the detective on Extant, which was a Halle Berry TV show, really good one. NCIS, New Orleans, Law and Order SUV, Dirt. Oh, Dirt was a good one. That was Courtney Cox newspaper show. That was a really good one. Satisfaction, Bones, Numbers. Let's see, CSI Miami, Hawaii Five-0. He played the governor. We mentioned Revolution. He was in Nikita, played a commander in that one, I think, several episodes. Colonel Dan on Grey's Anatomy. We mentioned Terminator, Girlfriends, Judging Amy. Narcos. He was a DEA agent on Narcos. He played a guy named Matt on Ally McBeal. I was a big Ally McBeal fan, and I think we hit the rest of them in the Heat of the Night and NYPD Blue. So he's been prolific. He got a late start into acting, but he has definitely made up for lost time. So I hope you enjoyed that. We kind of alluded to it, but if you're a rookies or the rookie fan, our RJ Smith and Brent Huff have both been on the show. And I got to tell you, everybody I've talked to from The Rookie has been outstanding, just wonderful people. I really have enjoyed every one of those interviews. We've got a playlist for The Rookie, and it'll have these three on there, but it also has about 10 other episodes of people that have guest starred on the Rookie. There's a ton and a lot of big names on there. So definitely, if you're a fan, check out our Rookie playlist. I think you'll enjoy that. Appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much. If you happen to be finding us for the first time, we would love to have your support. It's easy to do. We don't ask for any money, but we really would like to have your subscription. It helps us to keep bringing these terrific guests on the show. We're going to hit episode 1000 here in the next couple of weeks. Pretty excited about it. That's a big milestone for any show, podcast, radio show, TV show, anything. That's a lot of episodes. We're really proud of it. It took us 6.5 years to get there, which really isn't a ton of time, except in the podcast world. 6 years is a while. We typically put out 4 episodes a week. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. You can see MeisterCon behind me, just 1A. You know, the thought process here is I'm a Star Trek fan, especially William Shatner. So he's back there. I wanted a picture with a lot of characters just looking like they're yelling Khan. So that's the Khan in MeisterCon, just 1A Khan. The Meister comes from my favorite Christmas special, Santa Claus is Coming to Town. The villain in that, Meisterburger Burgermeister, MeisterCon. That's where that came from. So MeisterCon's kind of our entertainment company. Two Opinionated Podcasts belongs under that umbrella. I went off on a little bit of a tangent there. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. Please subscribe. It won't cost you anything. Really does help us out. Our website is meistercon.com. You can find all of those episodes, audio and video versions. If we're doing something in the studio, if we're going on location, if we're going to visit Richard in Austin, if we're covering a convention, anything we have going on, be on the website, meistercon.com. So please check us out there. Love talking to him about Summer Glau. She is fantastic, but she is really shy. I've got to meet her several times at conventions. Extremely friendly, very fan friendly. But you can tell she's quiet. She's shy. I got a big kick out of that. I'm a introvert myself, so it's this podcast has helped me to overcome a lot of that. So I get it. I understand that. It did surprise me that there's so many actors that are introverts and they use acting as a way to kind of come out of their shell. I guess I'm doing that with the podcast. Thank you guys so much. Till next time. Bye, everybody.